Brady didn't just win games, he made opponents question their life choices. From Super Bowls to regular season chaos, here are 10 times the GOAT ripped the heart out of the other team and stomped on it. February 5th, 2017, Super Bowl 51 versus Falcons. 28-3. That was the score midway through the third quarter. The Falcons were minutes away from their first championship, already tasting the champagne. But then they remembered who was on the other sideline. A sack and a holding call stopped Atlanta from sealing it, and that tiny crack was all Brady needed. He went full assassin mode, marching the Patriots down the field for 2 touchdowns, hitting both 2-point conversions, and forcing the first overtime in Super Bowl history. In OT, he didn't give Atlanta a chance. One methodical drive, a James White run into the end zone, and it was over. Patriots 34, Falcons 28. The biggest comeback the Super Bowl had ever seen. Brady walked away with his 5th ring. Atlanta walked away with a permanent spot in the Sports Heartbreak Hall of Fame. If you thought that was brutal, wait until you hear about the stadium that's literally too loud for the NFL's biggest stage. December 8th, 2013, Patriots versus Browns. Down 26-14 with just 2:30 left on the clock. No Rob Gronkowski. Nothing had worked all day. The offense was flat, the defense couldn't get a stop, and the Browns were about to walk out of Foxborough with a rare signature win. For almost any quarterback, that's game over. For Brady, that's just when the fun starts. First, he found Julian Edelman in the end zone to cut the lead. Then came the onside kick. Recovered. The stadium was shaking. Moments later, Brady hit Danny Amendola for the go-ahead touchdown. The Browns still had a chance, lining up for a 58-yard game-winning field goal, but in true Browns fashion, it sailed wide. In under 3 minutes, Cleveland went from pulling off an upset to becoming just another tragic chapter in the Browns being the Browns saga. Too loud? Sure, but the next one isn't about noise. It's about weather so wild it can bury a game under feet of snow. November 10th, 2002, Patriots versus Bears. Down 27-17 with 5 minutes left, the Patriots looked cooked. Then Brady went no huddle, carving up Chicago's defense like it was preseason. 2 quick touchdowns later, New England snatched a 33-30 win. Bears fans stood in stunned silence, wondering how a 10-point lead had evaporated in the time it takes to microwave popcorn. Snow is bad enough, but the next stadium's problem isn't the weather. It's what happens when the perfect conditions still turn into complete chaos. January 1st, 2012, Patriots versus Bills. The Bills came out swinging, jumping to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. Brady looked shaky, the crowd was restless, and Buffalo fans started thinking they might finally steal one in Foxborough. Then, switch flipped. Brady started dissecting the Bills' defense with precision. 23 straight completions, 5 touchdown drives, and 49 unanswered points. Final score, 49-21 Patriots. Buffalo went from a dream start to getting absolutely dismantled, spending 3 quarters watching Brady run a live quarterback clinic. That was chaos on a regular season stage. But the next one, it was a playoff humiliation so bad, people barely remember the actual score. January 18th, 2015, AFC Championship versus Colts. This was supposed to be Andrew Luck's statement game. The young QB had just led the Colts past Peyton Manning and the Broncos. Now it was Brady standing in his way. For about 5 minutes, it looked competitive. Then the Patriots turned it into a demolition. Brady threw for 3 touchdowns, LeGarrette Blount ran for 148 yards and 3 more, and New England rolled 45-7. By the fourth quarter, Colts fans weren't even angry, just numb. The game was such a blowout that the only thing anyone remembers is Deflategate, which somehow overshadowed the fact that Brady had just ripped Indy's heart out on national TV. If you think Brady's dominance stopped in the playoffs, the next one proves he could turn even an average October game into a masterclass. October 12th, 2003, Patriots versus Giants. The Giants came in 2-2, hoping to steal one from the defending champs. For 3 quarters, they hung around, and then Brady decided he'd had enough. He shredded New York's defense with back-to-back touchdown drives, turning a tight game into a 17-point win before they knew what hit them. By the end, the Giants' secondary looked like it was just praying for the clock to run out, and Brady, as usual, walked off without even breaking a sweat. That was surgical, but the next game was pure slaughter, and it killed a media fairy tale in just 4 quarters. January 14th, 2012, divisional round versus Broncos. The hype going in, Tim Tebow. The Broncos quarterback had just stunned the Steelers with an overtime playoff win, and the media spent the whole week talking about Tebow magic. Brady must have taken that personally. He came out firing, 5 touchdown passes in the first half alone, tying an NFL playoff record. By halftime, it was 35-7, and the game was already a funeral. Final score, 45-10 Patriots. Tebow finished with just 136 passing yards, while Brady casually tossed 6 touchdowns before taking most of the fourth quarter off. The so-called Tebow magic didn't just fade that night, Brady buried it 6 feet under. Speaking of killing hype, the next one came on the biggest stage in sports, and it left one of the NFL's best offenses looking clueless. February 3rd, 2019, Super Bowl 53 versus Rams. All season, the Rams were an offensive juggernaut. Sean McVay's unstoppable scheme, Jared Goff lighting it up, Todd Gurley running wild. Then they met Brady and scored 3 points. It wasn't flashy, it was suffocating. Brady didn't need a shootout, he just kept the chains moving, kept the Rams offense freezing on the sideline, and then dropped the dagger. A 29-yard strike to Gronk, setting up the game's only touchdown. Final score, 13-3, the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. The Rams walked in as the NFL's most explosive team and walked out looking like they'd never played offense before. That was the Super Bowl, but Brady didn't need the spotlight to dominate. Just ask the undefeated team he dismantled in Week 4. September 30th, 2018, Patriots versus Dolphins. The Dolphins came into Foxborough 3-0, leading the AFC East and feeling themselves. They were talking playoffs, maybe even dethroning the Patriots. Brady ended that conversation in about 10 minutes. He threw for 3 touchdowns, the defense smothered Miami, and by halftime it was 24-0. Final score, 38-7 Patriots. The Dolphins left with their first loss of the season, and a reminder that in the AFC East, there's still only one king. If that Dolphins game proved Brady could still dominate anyone, the next one showed he could go toe-to-toe with the league's new superstar. October 14th, 2018, Patriots versus Chiefs. It was supposed to be Patrick Mahomes' coronation. The Chiefs were undefeated, Mahomes was the league's new golden boy, and the game was under the bright lights of Sunday Night Football. But Brady wasn't ready to hand over the crown. He threw for 340 yards, ran in a touchdown himself, and when the game was tied at 40 with under a minute left, he did what he'd done for nearly 2 decades, march his team into field goal range without breaking a sweat. Steven Gostkowski nailed the kick at the buzzer. Patriots win 43-40. The message to Mahomes and the rest of the NFL? The throne isn't vacant just yet. From last-minute miracles to complete demolitions, Brady's career is packed with moments that made fans cheer, cry, or just sit there in disbelief. Which one's your favorite? Or did we miss one that still gives you chills? Drop it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one.